If you've been thinking about buying land in Wisconsin with a budget between 250,000 and 500,000, you're in the right place because today I'm going to walk you through two tools that can make your search a whole lot easier, and they're Zillow and land.com. And I know that for many first-time land buyers, the process can feel overwhelming. Maybe you're hesitant to apply for financing, or you feel like owning land is out of reach because of the high cost of entry and holding costs. But here's the thing, buying land isn't just about creating a space that's part of your life, your portfolio, and maybe even your legacy. So let's break it down together. By the end of this video, you'll have a solid understanding of how to use these platforms to find the right property. And more importantly, how to do it without feeling pressured or rushed. So let's dive in. Before we jump into Zillow, let's talk about what to expect in this price range. Now, the biggest challenges that buyers face at this level are the high cost of entry. There's a limited inventory of high quality land available, and the carrying costs that come with this type of ownership. It's also why this price bracket is appealing, because if you find the right piece of land, it can serve as both an investment and a personal getaway. And for many buyers I work with, it's not just about owning land. It's about having a place to escape to, somewhere that's peaceful, it's quiet, and more importantly, it's yours. You hold the deed to that land. And land like this becomes part of your life. It's somewhere you can run when you need to disconnect and recharge. All right, enough of that. Let's start with your search and let's hop over to Zillow. All right, so we headed over to Zillow, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with Zillow. You've used it for homes, but it's also great for land because a lot of this stuff is coming straight from the MLS. So we're going to start by entering where we're looking for land. And so I'm going to type in where I live, which is Washington County. I like to go by county. We're just going to do this and see what happens. I'm not super familiar with Zillow. I know enough about it to be dangerous. It sounds like it's pretty easy. But okay, so we typed in Washington County, Wisconsin. You can see here's the boundary of the county here. And from there, what we're going to want to do is start filtering down our search, because this is basically showing like everything for sale. So we're going to go home type. To make it easier, I'm going to deselect all, hit lots and lands. We went from, just to show you the difference between the availability of homes and the availability of lands. I just want to do something real quick. We're going to go to houses. So we got 148, but let's just do select all. So there's 214 listings for residential, let's just call it. And then that whittles down to 129 for land. Okay. So not too bad. Some counties will have more listings. Some counties will have less listing. It's just the way that those markets work, because you can look at Wisconsin as a whole. That's the Wisconsin market, but you can boil it down to county and township, and you'll be able to see that there's just some counties and townships that have more sales than others. It's just the way that local market works. So let's click on a listing after we do our price range. Now, I'm guessing, so we got 250 is our minimum, 500, that's the price range we're hitting on. So you can see just by doing that, we went from over 100 to 9. And that goes back to the beginning of this video when I mentioned one of the hardest things to overcome when you're searching for land is the inventory that's available. And as you can see, we have 35 acres for 300,000. Now, let's say I was looking at buying, how I wanted acreage to build a house on. What I would look for is, let's just click on this listing real quick. And you got to remember, with all of these are coming from the multiple listing service. So this 35 acres has 2 photos. Okay. That's not Zillow providing the photos. It's the listing agent that is uploading all this stuff, because here's the description. Okay. It doesn't really tell me much about it. So I know the price, I know the acreage. And so when I'm looking at this, like, you're not going to get a lot of information about this property from Zillow unless the listing agent did a super good job on providing that information. Because I can tell you that even these maps and stuff like that, especially because I believe this is, I'm familiar with this property. I believe it's subject to a land division, or it may have been. So this might not even be accurate. You can see they have it listed a couple different ways. So that's what's hard about using land.com or even land.com and Zillow, is the data that you're getting does come from the MLS, but you're not getting like the full assortment of data that is available on the back end. And I would love to show you the MLS, but I don't know if they have a rule about that or not. So anyways, this is what I'm looking at. Okay, I want to build a house. It says something about building a house, which is cool, but I know just from the photos, this is going to be super low. So this probably carries wetlands and floodplain, which can affect if a property is buildable or not. So I'm just going to go back to the search. Let's see a different one here. Okay, so now we have 24 photos. So now we're getting better. Privacy. So this, we have some information about building here. On any of these properties, you're going to want to do your due diligence. Don't take the listing agent's word for it. You can use it as a starting point, but you got to confirm. So again, here I'm looking at this. Okay, you have your road frontage. You have some field here. This vegetation right here looks low. So I'm going to be weary of wetlands. I don't feel like unless you had a permit, you could get back here, but I don't know if it's going to be able to even support a septic system. So I'm looking at all this stuff before I even go look at the property. And that's just from one tool, which is Zillow. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of other tools that one could use. But for the most part, you get a good sense. Yep, here's, you got some cattails. So a tall tale sign of wetlands in the area. So you get something like this. Okay, you got 20 acres for $419. I can tell you there's properties that have sold that were 20 acres that were over 400,000 in Washington County. I know that for a fact. I've sold some of them. When I'm looking at something like this, there's a lot of red flags that need to be confirmed before I would even feel comfortable buying this property and sticking a value on it. It would probably take me a few hours just to look at this and come up with something, because I can tell you that this price is probably pretty high for what's there. So again, I do this every day, so it's a little bit quicker for me, but same thing here. Okay, we got 250,000. We have one photo of this property, short description. It doesn't really tell me much. So when you're looking on Zillow, it can be discouraging because you just want it as people. We want that information. And the same is going to apply to land.com when we hop over there in just a minute. You're looking for a property and you just want to know, can I build on it? Can I hunt on it? What's it good for? What's it zoned? And it depends how that listing gets entered, if you're going to get that information or not. So as a buyer, I would almost caution you that the thing to use these sites for is just to see what's available. And then the rest is either going to be up to you to dig deeper into that. And I hate that I have to say this. It's going to be up to you to do that work to figure out what exactly is going on. Or you have to have somebody on your side, like a buyer's agent that specializes in this stuff, that can take a little bit of time to say, hey, here's the property I'm interested in. And they can just go look at it quick and give you a broad idea of what to expect for that. Because I will be honest with you, when it comes to land versus houses, get a lot more attention to detail when they get entered versus land. And I think it's been pretty obvious just hopping on these few listings in Washington County, that is the case. Now, enough about Zillow. Let's go over to land.com. So what I want to say is that, yes, it's land.com in the name, right? But these listings that you're about to see also feed from the MLS. So they're going to be pretty similar. There are companies that aren't part of the MLS, but they will upload their listings to land.com. So you might see some that are on Zillow, but aren't on land.com, and then vice versa. So let's type in Washington County, Wisconsin, and then we'll filter this down once it gets going. Okay. So again, there's going to be some sponsored ones in here. It says we have 111 listings. So a little bit less than Zillow. I think Zillow had 100. And as you can see, there's a commercial property. Now, would you expect that to be land? No. Here's a house, another house. So those are going to be properties that are filtering over, syndicating over from the MLS. So I'm just going to keep it simple and go 250 to 500,000. Okay. Let's see what we got here. We got 35. So if you remember, we had, I think it was 9 before, but remember, this is including the homes that are in that price range. So here you can see we toured this one on Zillow real quick. It's exactly the same. It's just a different format. Here you got a little bit different map, and then you got some other ones. So not much different. The only thing that you might gain is some people that aren't part of the MLS that upload their listings here on Zillow. With that being said, if you do on Zillow fill out the contact form, they may have changed this since the last time, but if you hit contact agent, your information might not go to the listing agent. It might go to 1, 2, or 3 other agents that basically pay for leads. So that's why it's often confusing on Zillow, because you might be thinking you're reaching out to the listing agent, but you're just reaching out to some agent that probably has no idea about that property. On land.com, because I subscribe to land.com because I think it's just a great resource. If you fill this out, this should go directly to the listing agent. So if you hear from Jesse, that's who should be in charge of that. Now, if you see this right here, this would not be the listing agent. This is somebody that's paying to be on this site in order to get leads. So that would be the main difference between the two as far as where your information goes. You can also see contact seller so that you know who you're talking to when it comes to that property. So one thing I always just want to remind buyers is make sure to check for details outside of these sites. Now, we already looked at some photos and stuff like that, but there could be easements, zoning restrictions, whether the land is landlocked or not. So even if it looks great, there's land listings that have great photos, great description, but these small details that can get uncovered if you look a little bit deeper can turn a property that seemingly looks really good into one that is just a dud, and it could be a really bad investment for you. So that's why I always suggest reaching out if you have questions, even if you're not ready to buy, because having clarity now can help save you from surprises when you get into a deal or down the road, or God forbid it's after closing. That would just be horrible. So again, if you do have a property that you're looking at, or you want to study some properties, I'm happy to do that. There is a link for a free appointment. Now that is through Google Meet. There's absolutely no obligation to do that. It's whenever you're ready. That link will always be there. So if you are ready, or whenever you're ready, just go ahead and click on that link and you can book an appointment with me for that. We can go through whatever you want about land. I'm hoping that this walkthrough helped you a little bit on understanding how to use Zillow and land.com, and then also what to look for when you see these properties show up online. And it doesn't have to feel or be overwhelming. With the right tools and some guidance, it's manageable to process. Now, if you'd like to dive deeper into any of these listings, I just want to mention again in the description that there is a link to book a Google Meet session with me. There's no fee for that. There's no obligation. That link will be there. So whenever you're comfortable and ready and you want to dive into that, go ahead and use that link and pick a time that's convenient for you. There are obviously times that are blocked off, but go ahead and pick one that works for you and get that booked. So I appreciate you spending some time with me today. If you found this helpful, feel free to like, share, comment. I would love if you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell so you receive notifications for more videos that I create in buying and selling land in Wisconsin. So thanks again. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one.